If you want many audios that are not available on YouTube, you can support my Patreon page. Link in the video description. Also, you can join my Discord server. That's also link in the description. Without further ado, enjoy the video.
Hello and welcome. Today, I plan to invite you on what I believe should present an interesting journey for you. Pull up a chair or lay on your bed if you like. Sit back, relax, and take some nice deep breaths from me. In through your nose, out through your mouth. Just like that. Good. Keep breathing just like that as I tell you this story. As you relax yourself, you find that you've come to what appears to be an abandoned lab. The air is calm, still, quiet, and oddly inviting. The light in the room glows as a soft bluish-green light, somewhat dimly illuminating each area. There are archways all around on each of the tiers of this place, both to your left and to your right. And the ones you can see appear to be full of various mechanical parts and pieces, randomly strewn on about every surface there is. At the end of the hall, you can see a double archway with two splitting paths, their destination unclear. You hear a gentle thrum of a large power generator off in the distance. It continues to drone on as you take your first steps into one of the stations in this part of the lab. As you come up to one of the stations, the monitors all light up. There are display schematics of some sort. It looks like a diagram of a humanoid body, but it's certainly nothing you've ever seen before. The diagram doesn't make too much sense to you. All about the room lays all sorts of machinery. Some hoverboards here, transistors here, microchips galore, and so many wires you would think it's a jungle out there. As you move over one of the hoverboards and pick it up, you feel as if it's being absorbed into your hand. You don't feel some pain from it. In fact, it feels nice. As it sinks into your hand, you think you begin to hear a voice in your mind. It's broken up, but you can tell that there is something in your mind. It's a cold, metallic voice that speaks almost as if instructing you. By the time the hoverboard has fully been absorbed into your hand, you've met with a sudden, intense new desire. You reach over to grab a handful of microchips, noticing the exact same process of absorbing happening with them as there was with the hoverboard. This time, however, there's no mistaking it. This is quite the amazing feeling, having them slowly but surely become a part of you. Each chip on your hand absorbs, send a small wave, feeling completeness, radiating across your whole body. After the chips have all been absorbed, you realize you need another handful to feel as though you have enough. And so, You do what you want to do. You do exactly what you do, taking a second handful and allowing the chips to be absorbed into your hand. If you still feel you don't have enough, you can even take a third handful and repeat the process again and again. When the final microchip is finished being absorbed, that same metallic, monotonous voice enters your mind. System startup, 50% complete. Components missing. Wires, transistors. Acquire missing components to continue. Just as the voice instructs you to, you move over to the pile of transistors nearby and grab them too. These feel even better than having the microchips as they sink into you. You can feel yourself becoming more and more complete as you gain more and more parts. You can feel the transistors and microchips slowly beginning to migrate across your body, filling you with a wonderful feeling of satisfaction. This was meant to be. You think to yourself, the hoverboards travel along as well, migrating to your brain and attaching itself there, locking itself with a firm grip. Your thoughts no longer feel like they're human. They feel rigid, structured, robotic. That's all left, just one final component, the wires. As if by pure instinct you find some wires laying near you and pick it up without hesitation. Just as before, the wires begin absorbing into your hand, slowly worming their way inside you. After their absorption, however, you don't need to take any more. You can feel them beginning to grow, lengthen, and expand within your hand, traveling up your arm and onwards to the rest of your body. It feels almost euphoric to finally have all the components and to have them bound together. The voice finally speaks to you again. System startup complete. Proceed to programming room. You do exactly as you're instructed, moving down past the double archway, along the path. Your walking has changed as well now. Instead of your usual way of walking, it becomes a march like 1 foot in front of the other at each exact interval. The lights within the tunnel wash over you, filling you with a deep sense of purpose. As you exit the tunnel, you're greeted by the programming room, a vast chamber filled with stations on which to stand, each of them with a large monitor in front of it, larger than any of you've seen. Your internal program speaks to you again in that same authoritative, powerful, commanding voice you come to know. Take your position at the programming station. You obediently step onto the stations, standing unflinching as the monitor begins to turn on. When it does, a number of phrases begin to show themselves to you. You intently read every single one, never taking your eyes off of it any reason. You are no longer human. You are a machine. You exist to serve. You exist to obey. Your purpose is to do what you are told. Those messages cycle over and over as you stand there, absorbing the information for what feels like an eternity and a half. As you keep standing, unflinching in your resolve until they become integrated into your very being. When the monitor turns off, you hear the voice once again, ringing in your mind, stronger and pervasive than ever. Programming complete. Proceed to casting room. Just as your internal voice said to, you march back through the tunnel you came from, in the parts room, taking the right tunnel this time to bring you to the casting room, just as it was with the other rooms. A soft, warm glow blankets the room throughout. There are several stone tables used for various things with small jars roughly the size of tennis balls sitting on them. All of them are labeled molding metal. You instinctively take a jar from one of the tables, open it, grabbing the molding metal in your hands. When you do, the metal looks like it's melting in your hand, and as it does, you can feel it beginning to bind with your skin. Just a few seconds, your entire hand has a metallic sheen to it. The metal continues to spread across you, traveling up your arms slowly but surely. As it makes its way to your shoulder, you feel as though the metal has replaced your skin entirely. All the while, the metal continues to slowly stretch, cover, and replace whatever skin it can reach. By now, almost half of your body has been covered by the morphing metal, and it only continues to spread. Although the feeling you normally understand would come from the covered sorts is gone, you can still interpret the sense of feeling with your new metal shell. Once your whole body is covered, you once again hear the guiding voice that graced you since you first began. Casting complete. Proceed to serialization chamber. Just as you're told to, you march dutifully forward past the arch, leading out of the casting room, coming to the serialization room. It's filled to the brim with encapsulation pods that stretch on for almost 1,000 feet. A conveyor belt stretches the length of the entire room. All the pods have their doors open, facing the belt. Right on cue, the guide in your new machine mind gives you a next order. Step into chamber. As you do so, the door closes behind you, and a discharge of steam can be heard coming from its outside. It begins cycling various colors on its interior. Its purpose, to wipe away your former human life. You no longer need it as a machine. Your human memories begin to slowly fade away, being sucked away by the colorful walls of your chamber, down to your very name. With each human thought and name that the chamber drains away, you feel closer and closer to being the perfect machine. As the final memory slips away, you start to see a string of 7 letters and numbers forming in your mind in the form of X's. That set of letters and numbers then appears on your left cheek as well, as if it were printed straight forward into it. When the chamber stops, your internal voice speaks to you once again. This is your new serial identification. As you're granted your new unique identifier, the chamber once again opens its doors, allowing you to step on the conveyor belt to cross the rest of the room more quickly. At the end of the chamber, you once again proceed through the archway and down the tunnel, coming to what appears to be the second to last room in the lab. This is the most particular of them all. One of the walls have been demolished, allowing you to see a path out of the lab. You can still feel the freedom you choose to step outside the lab if you no longer wish to be a machine. All changes made to you in the lab will revert. All parts will disintegrate, and you will return to how you were before you entered the lab at all. If you do, you may stop listening to this recording and awaken. If, however, you choose to remain a machine, your guides give you one more command. Walk forward into deployment chamber and greet Operator James. He will continue your programming.